Jack Hughes and his line mates were buzzing. They combined for 7 points in a 5-3 victory over the Canadiens. New Jersey has now won 4 of their last 5 games. There's a lot to break down in today's episode of Locked On Devils. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play announcer, Devils Driver Pucks Pitchforks, and also part-time credentialed media member, Trey Matthews. The New Jersey Devils came out victorious against the Montreal Canadiens by a score of 5-3. They have now won 4 of their last 5 games. In today's episode, I will share some of my main takeaways in the first segment. Then in the second segment, I will highlight some players that caught my eye and list my personal 3 stars of the game. Then in the third and final segment, like I do with every post-game recap episode, I will compare the stats and give the Devils a letter grade. Now, before I share my takeaways from this matchup, first, some pre-game notes. Shimo Nemec was sent down to Utica shortly before the start of this game. In my opinion, this was the correct move by New Jersey because I don't think we've seen Nemec play in a game for about 17 days. He's been a healthy scratch. Jonathan Kovacevic has been excellent. And for Nemec, he definitely has a lot of untapped potential. But the thing is, it doesn't make sense for him to collect cobwebs wearing a suit, sitting up in the press box. That's not going to do him any favors. Similar to Seamus Casey, he needs to go back down to Utica, get some reps. And as we all know, I talked about it in the previous episode, the comments are not really off to the best of starts. And getting Nemec, a former second overall pick, added to your lineup, maybe that can bolster the team just a bit. Okay, let's talk about an interesting mindset that the Devils had going into this game. Sheldon Keefe said at a recent media availability that his message to his team was to act like this was still a road game. They had a shortened practice and they wanted to keep that mindset like they were still on the road, because one of the early season struggles for New Jersey is that they've been performing better on the road compared to at home in front of their fans, which I've said is not really the worst trait in the world, because if you perform well on the road, that's actually a good thing. But you still want to put on a good performance in front of your home fan base, especially since they're spending their hard-earned cash. And I thought it was somewhat silly because I'm just like, okay, you can't act like a home game is a road game because the crowd is cheering for you, not against you. But obviously, I'm not a coach, and I just said, let's see how the Devils respond. And here's an interesting fact that I did not realize until it was said on the broadcast. The Devils have never led after the first period during a home game until tonight, when they took a 2-0 lead heading into the first intermission. I was just like, okay, it seems like the mindset is working. And I guess the Devils are doing whatever they can do to convince themselves like they're still on the road. Don't try to do too much. You've done this before. Remain calm, cool, and collected and see what happens. I talked about this in the previous episode. The Canadiens have pretty decent goaltending. I believe Sam Montembeault is very underrated, and he was definitely a bright spot for the Habs last season. And anytime the Devils face him, he does put up a decent challenge for them to try to find the back of the net. But their defense is completely lackluster. They are ranked second last in the entire NHL. The Devils have been playing some decent hockey the last few games during their Western Canada trip. Out of the 3 games, they racked up 2 shutouts, and they actually had a shutout working for them with about 6 minutes remaining in the third period against the Flames. So, like I said, even though they ended up losing 3-0, it wasn't their worst outing. Unfortunately, it just didn't go their way. And I think this is a good opportunity for them to string together a couple wins. The last time the Devils had a 3-game winning streak, you would have to go back to almost a year ago in late December. So it's been a minute since the Devils have been on a decent sized winning streak. And I know 3 games isn't all that much, but if they win 4 in a row, that's improvement compared to last year. It's just an example of crawling before you walk. And going into this matchup, the Canadiens had a record of 4-7-2. And I think Marty St. Louis is feeling the pressure just a little bit because there were some decent expectations for the Canadiens heading into this season. Unfortunately, their defense is not really all that good. They don't really have that lockdown defenseman. And as a result, you saw it in this game, the Devils were able to capitalize on it rather early because Jesper Bratt scored the opening goal within the first 90 seconds. And Jack Hughes was phenomenal. I'll talk more about him in the second segment. But sometimes things are easier said than done. In theory, this should be a winnable game for New Jersey, but not everything is guaranteed. And Jacob Markstrom didn't really have his best outing. At times, the Canadiens had some momentum going their way. So Devils had a 2-0 lead entering the second period. Then Newhook scored the opening goal in the second period thanks to a Jonas Siegenthaler turnover. Luckily, Siegenthaler redeemed himself just a few minutes later and got his own goal. But then Gallagher scored when there was just 1 minute remaining in the period, and that could have been a killer for New Jersey. They still had a 3-2 lead heading into the final intermission, but by no means was this game over. Jack Hughes answered it, put the Devils up by 2, but of course, New Jersey can never make it easy on themselves. Just a couple minutes later, Newhook was able to get his second goal of the game. And here we go. We sort of have a back and forth affair, but the Canadiens never led at any point of this matchup. At the conclusion of the second period, Markstrom's goals saved above expected was minus 0.99, which means those were stoppable for Markstrom. And it kind of hurts me because in the previous episode, I was talking about how him and Allen were passing the eye test and Markstrom just didn't really have a good showing. That's going to happen, but all wins count the same. The Devils got the 2 points, and their next game is going to be against the Islanders. And like I said, I hope this is a point where the Devils can string together a few wins in a row and go on a 3-game winning streak for the first time since late December last season. I think that the Devils are starting to click just a little bit more, and they have been getting more practice time. They're starting to build that chemistry. I said, be patient with this Devils team. And while this wasn't the prettiest of wins, everything counts the same. All right, I'm going to highlight some players and list my personal 3 stars of the game. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about Hims. Guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to get ready so we can perform better in the bedroom. Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you the boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-entrusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints, Viagra, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for your uncomfortable doctor visits. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's hims.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider. who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. All right, let me highlight some players and list my personal 3 stars of the game. One honorable mention is Curtis McDermott, once again filling in for a couple of injured Devils players, Curtis Lazar and Nathan Bastian. I know I've been rather hard on McDermott throughout the course of this season. I said, while McDermott is definitely a likable guy in the locker room, he sticks up for his teammates, he's definitely a tough customer. I always said he can't really be all that effective. He's not really going to help the team rack up wins. But here's the thing. In the games that McDermott plays, the Devils have a record of 4-0-1. Now, let me just make this perfectly clear. I'm not saying all of that is on McDermott, but he's not hurting the team, if that makes sense. And when you have someone like Arbor Jackeye in the lineup, another tough customer, it's always a good feeling when you have someone like McDermott in the lineup as well, in case things get a little hairy, because we all know Jackeye plays aggressive and he doesn't take any prisoners, but neither does McDermott. So, like I said, I know I've been rather hard on McDermott, but I will give him credit. He's not helping the team lose. The Devils have a winning record when he's in the lineup. Just saw it on social media. Wanted to bring it up on my show. All right. Another honorable mention is former Canadian Jonathan Kovacevic. Like I said in the first segment, the Canadiens are second last in terms of defensive numbers in the NHL. And they traded away Jonathan Kovacevic to the Devils in exchange for a 2026 fourth round pick. Now, the narrative is that the Canadiens had a lot of young up-and-coming defensemen and they just didn't have any room for Kovacevic. But entering this matchup, Kovacevic's numbers are very solid. 9 takeaways, tied for first on the team. 2.3 defensive point shares rating, first on the team. 2.6 point shares rating, second on the team. A plus-minus rating of +7, third on the team. 10.3 expected goals for, tied for fifth on the team. 14 blocks, sixth on the team. I think the Canadiens could have used someone like Kovacevic in their lineup because they struggle defensively. And yet here's Kovacevic helping the Devils win games. I talked about it over the summer. I said that Kovacevic was an underrated get for Tom Fitzgerald, and I think he's exceeded a lot of people's expectations, including mine, because I didn't anticipate for Kovacevic to be an everyday player. I just said, like, if he's given the chance, I think he could be solid, especially if he's filling in for an injured player. But Kovacevic, in a sense, has taken the roster spot from Shimon Nemec. All right, speaking of other players who have been very solid, let's talk about Jonas Siegenthaler. I said in the first segment, when the Canadiens got their first goal of the game, thanks to Alex Newhook, it was Siegenthaler who turned the puck over. And just a few minutes later, he redeemed himself thanks to a great feed from Eric Haula. Siegenthaler has been balling this year. And I've talked about it in the past, but here are some numbers. Entering this matchup, he had a 2.2 defensive point shares rating, second on the team, 26 blocks, second on the team, 2.2 point shares rating, fifth on the team, 26 hits, sixth on the team, a plus-minus rating of +5, sixth on the team, 10.3 expected goals for, sixth on the team. Once again, I have to give credit to Siegenthaler. His defense has been pretty good for New Jersey, and he got his first goal since late December last year against the Senators. Another player I want to shout out is Dougie Hamilton, who got the secondary assist on Jesper Bratt's opening goal. Dougie Hamilton, once again, people fear that clapper, and when he gets the puck near the net, usually good things will occur. He now has 9 points in his last 9 games. And I'm glad that he is starting to get his groove back. All right, my personal 3 stars of the game. The third star goes to Ondrej Palat, who scored in this matchup. In fact, that whole line of Ondrej Palat, Jesper Bratt, and Jack Hughes deserve a lot of credit because all 3 of them combined for 7 points. Ondrej Palat, he had a goal. Jesper Bratt, 2 goals, 1 assist. Jack Hughes, 1 goal, 2 assists. Phenomenal effort from that top line. But let's just talk about Ondrej Palat because I would say this was arguably his best game of the season. Because Palat is now playing alongside Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt. And I think you're starting to see the good in Ondrej, similar to what happened last year when he was on the line with Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt. That was one of my favorite lines to watch last season because you got someone like Nico Hischier. He plays a two-way game. Jesper Bratt, he focuses on offense, but Ondrej Palat, he's more of a defensive-minded forward. I've talked about it in the past. Don't expect big numbers from Ondrej Palat in terms of offensive execution, but I don't think he's a waste like people are portraying him to be. Is he overpaid? Yes, absolutely. But he's not a bad player. I'm just putting that out there. Now, a few games ago, when Sheldon Keefe decided to pair Palat with Hughes and Bratt, I didn't think it was going to last. This pairing was put together against the Tampa Bay Lightning, Ondrej's former team, and up to that point, he still had 0 points, and Sheldon Keefe was trying to do whatever it took to get him going. Ever since then, Palat has 4 points, 2 goals, 2 assists, and he's also tied for first on the team in takeaways with 9 entering this game. So once again, Palat, while I don't think he's a scrub, he is overpaid. I got to give him credit where credit is due. My second star belongs to Jesper Bratt. He walked away with 2 goals, 1 assist. He got the opening goal and also the last goal of the game, thanks to the empty netter. He now has 18 points in 16 games. Jesper Bratt is continuing to do what he did last season, in which he had an all-star caliber year. And now, my first star has to go to Jack Hughes. He was slicing and dicing through traffic all night long. He was a great facilitator, and Bill Spaulding and Ken Danico talked about it on air. It seems like Jack Hughes is starting to ease back into it a lot more. You're seeing a lot more confidence, and in the words of Christy Flannery of the Hockey News, Jack Hughes was chasing those primary assists in the first period like they were infinity stones. I love that, Christy. Couldn't help myself. But getting back to Jack Hughes, similar to Ondrej Palat, I would argue and say that this was Jack Hughes' best showing of the season up to this point. He walked away with 3 points, and he was leading the charge. And he was also playing some solid defense because if you noticed on that Jesper Bratt empty netter goal, it was Jack Hughes creating room so that way Bratt can try to go off and running and get the empty netter. I know Jack's not the biggest guy out there, but I appreciate that he's trying to make a valiant effort for the sake of his team. And remember, Jack still might be a little shaken up from last year when he dealt with 2, not 1, 2 big injuries. So Jack Hughes is my first star of the game, and he deserves a lot of credit as to what he did in this matchup against the Canadiens. All right, I'm going to compare stats and give the Devils a letter grade momentarily, but before we continue, let me tell you guys about Game Time. I've actually used Game Time before to purchase myself some MLB and NBA tickets. Game Time Picks creation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. All in pricing, toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, get a good view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time, everybody. And now, let me tell you guys about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Okay, let's compare the stats, give the Devils a letter grade, and get out of here. Shots on goal differential, 27-24 in favor of the Devils. Power plays, Devils were 0 for 3, Canadiens were 0 for 2. That's a shame because I was really looking forward to seeing the Devils capitalize on some power play opportunities. I said it in the previous episode. Hits 25-22 in favor of the Canadiens. Giveaways, dead even, 11 apiece. Takeaways, dead even, once again, 3 apiece. Block shots, 14-13 in favor of the Devils. Time spent in the penalty box, 6-4 in favor of the Canadiens. All right. If I had to give the Devils a letter grade, the offense, once again, was good. Love the defensive effort at times. Goaltending, Jacob Markstrom didn't have his best outing. He's just lucky that the Devils, once again, had their offense clicking. So I'm going to have to ding the Devils a few points because that was not a good performance in between the pipes for Markstrom. Of course, respectfully. I'll give them a solid B because they're starting to put the pieces together. They're stringing some wins here or there. They've won 4 of their last 5 games. Hopefully they can go on a winning streak. And it seems like their chemistry is improving game by game by game. And I don't think it was all that bad of a performance. I was rather entertained. They didn't make it easy on themselves, but all wins count the same. At the end of the day, 2 points. Markstrom's not always going to be perfect. Same can be said for Jake Allen, another former Canadiens goalie. Shout out to the Habs for retaining half of his salary. But yeah, I'll give the Devils a solid B. Let me know what you guys thought of this matchup and what did you think of Jack Hughes' outing. But I'm also curious to hear your thoughts on Ondrej Palat and what his impact has been with New Jersey this season. Leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on podcast streaming service, hit me up on my personal X Page app at TreyMatt4 or the show's X Page app at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening once again.